I think when it comes to Chainsaw Man, the story of it, the character, the world, the entire experience, I feel like Fujimoto just sits in a dark room surrounded by a summoning circle and just conjures up the darkest thoughts from the Lord Cthulhu to help us ascend to even higher heights of pain and suffering within the confines of the story. And this week he brought us full circle to the only family that Denji's ever known, Aki and Power. So, let's talk about it.
Sometimes you gotta close the door to open a window.
Before we get into the video, I just want to say consider liking and subscribing. It really helps me out. And also consider supporting me on Patreon. We are trying to hit 100 Patreons, so that would help me out greatly. But this chapter opens up with Yoru and Denji sat in the forest that the Agent Devil has sent them to, with Yoru kissing Denji and telling him crying won't help us get out of here. Help me come up with an escape plan. And this is where we see Denji kind of have like a bit of a breakthrough in his mentality. You see, a running theme throughout part 2 of Chainsaw Man is that Denji is dealing with his emotions of being used constantly against his will, but under the guise of it being something that he wants. Denji's desire for sex, boobs, kissing girls, and ultimately, it all just ultimately boils down to him wanting to be loved for who he is rather than what he is. And Yoru and Asa serve as the perfect catalyst for this delicate equation of love and sexual tension and desires. And it's very interesting to see because right now Yoru is trying to appease that sexual desire within Denji by kissing him in order to gain what she wants. Denji is crying over the situation and Yoru kisses him in order to calm him down so she can have what she wants. So it's kind of like a give-take relationship, except Denji's not really aware of everything that's going on here. And on the flip side of this, we have Asa, someone who actually does like Denji and somewhat understands him, or kind of actually fully understands him by what it seems to be in this chapter. But as Yoru kisses Denji, he basically just pushes her away, telling her to stop, and asking why she keeps coming onto him and why it's like his life alternates between sexy and terrible. And honestly, he's just not wrong, because those two things aren't mutually exclusive sometimes. The sexy and the terrible just happen to go hand in hand. God damn it, Fujimoto. But Denji mentions how he feels hopeless and he feels like he can't focus on his mistakes when stuff like this keeps happening, which is where Fujimoto shows us the real evil in Yoru, with Denji opening up to her, with Yoru simply just replying, yeah, same, but, you know, I got over it so you can. And this whole reply reeks of the have you tried just being happy type of energy. You know, it's kind of just like, yeah, I feel emotions too, but I got over those. Silly emotions. It's different, and it's a weird perspective. And as I mentioned before, we've got Yoru and Asa who are sharing a body, where Denji doesn't really know about this, so from his perspective, Denji sees Asa who's flip-flopping back and forth between coming onto him, being wholesome with him, and actually wanting to build a relationship with him, to basically kind of using him and seeing him only as Chainsaw Man rather than Denji. Now, because correct me if I'm wrong, I'm almost certain Denji cannot tell when the two switch bodies. He can't tell when Asa is Asa and when Yoru is Yoru, and vice versa. But I have an inkling he is slowly starting to figure that out through this chapter. His demeanor with both Asa and Yoru as they switch between this chapter is very different. He seems abrasive to Yoru because of her actions and soft-hearted towards Asa because of her conversation. And speaking of switches, Asa just punches herself in the face, or rather punches Yoru in the face. He punches her in their face. I don't even know. But she proceeds to open up to Denji here, telling him that a long time ago her mother was eaten by a devil, but she blames herself and she thinks about it every day. What would have happened had she not tripped, if she'd been fasted, if she could turn back time with some amazing devil power. And I've said this a few times while reading this series, not on this channel, but on streams and stuff like that. But Asa is genuinely such a phenomenally well-written character that it makes my heart happy to experience her story. In terms of characters, I actually genuinely prefer her character to Denji's, and it is only by a small margin, but that's not to say that Denji's character is bad in comparison, but I think Fujimoto, for me personally, has done a better job at characterizing Asa and her struggles and everything that's going on with her character throughout the story, as opposed to what he did with Denji. With Denji, a lot of it feels like it's subtext, whereas Asa, it feels like it's a little bit more in your face, but just more human, it feels like. It's a hard one to describe, and I feel like a full-on video, but probably someone who's already made a video of it, probably makes it a lot better. But Asa goes on to mention how Chainsaw Man taught her that she still has something to live for, something that she could look forward to so much that she is willing to eat that crap burger. And if that sounds familiar, it should, because that is a direct callback to Denji and Asa's conversation way back when they fought the Fallen Devil. All the way back! That was all the way back in chapter 127. That's how long ago this calls back to, where Denji pretty much says the exact same thing, except his answer is to have sex, and I imagine Asa's answer is probably just going to be to find love here, I imagine. But the callback here, it doesn't stop. This chapter, Fujimoto, he hits you really in the punch, in the guts here. But Denji throws up the Snow Devil. Now, when I first saw this, my dummy old man brain immediately thought of the Blood Devil. It was the horns and the flashback sequence that came after this that immediately made me think of Power. And I wasn't really too far from wrong here, as from what happens as Fujimoto is about to play potentially his cruelest trick on both us and Denji, which is just pain in and of itself. But as the Snow Devil has been thrown up, snow returns to the land here, and it just starts to fall almost instantly, leaving Denji to think about both Aki and Power, in a little callback to when they went on their trip way back when in chapter 72, and perhaps one of the last happy memories that Denji has of them before things went south and fast. It is genuinely a really beautiful panel of Power and Aki here, and it really does just tug at the heartstrings here. And honestly, Fujimoto recently, he's been cooking. He genuinely has been cooking. I know, like, he just cooks all the time, but sometimes he's been cooking. He's been on a slow cooker for a while, because I've mentioned this, and I have to admit this, I've been in a bit of a love-hate relationship with Chainsaw Man and the story for the past, like, 100 chapters, at the very least. I think even though I've been reading it weekly since Part 2 started, I found myself disliking the pacing and the routes that Fuji is taking, but that was in comparison to how Part 1 was. I think it was just kind of a sharp, sudden shock, all of a sudden, to go from that quote-unquote Fujimoto pacing to sort of a really slow and really big build-up, and that took me some time to get used to, but I imagine going back and rereading it, after not having the week-to-week fatigue in there, I imagine it would be a whole different ballgame. But anyway, that's it from me. Phenomenal chapter from Fujimoto. If you've not already, please be sure to like and subscribe, and also consider supporting me on Patreon, because we are trying to hit 100 patrons. That's kind of cool. That'd be kind of baller if we could do that. But as always, I will catch you guys all in the next one. Much fucking love. Big fucking kisses. Peace.